Hello. Oh, wow. Hola.
Hello, Jarvis. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay. As I was saying, I'm going to introduce you now in Catalan. It's going to be beautiful words about you, okay?
I believe you.
Okay.
Hello and good evening to one and all. I know you don't need me to introduce Jarvis Cocker, this gentleman to my right. His name is Jarvis Cocker. He was born in 1963 in Sheffield. He's a great singer. He's one of the most amazing frontmans ever, an amazing songs writer, very much fun to hear. When he was 15 years old, he came up with a band entitled Pulp, and Pulp had its moment of peak at the end of the 90s, and ever since he has carried on doing several music projects, radio presenter. 6 or 7 years ago, he published Good Pop, Bad Pop against Brexit. He has also used the same title for his memoirs. We are gonna present the title, Good Pop, Bad Pop, in Spanish also. So these are memories, but not conventional memories. They are produced on the grounds of an amazing idea, a repertoire of objects that tell him stories, and from here on he drafts the history of his early childhood and youth.
I think I'm done talking about you.
I don't understand, so it's fine.
It was great, Jarvis. It was great. It was very beautiful. It was touching.
All right, okay.
I was talking about the object. I think it was a great idea. And I guess my first question is, do you think that it was time for you to write a memoir, or without those objects and that idea, I mean, that unlocked somehow the option of writing about your life?
Well, the person, hello everybody, by the way, hi. I will try and speak clearly, because I am aware of the fact that I'm in Barcelona. The person who is mostly responsible for the book is here, Monica Carmona. She is my literary agent. How that happened was I did a book of lyrics about just over 10 years ago, and Monica got that published in Spain, and then she left the company she was with and started a literary becoming a literary agent, and she said, I want to represent you. And I said, that's very kind of you, but I'm not going to write a book. Because I never thought that I would write a book, because the songs that I've written are my way of writing about my life. So I didn't really think I would write a book about myself, but I said, she kept saying, I think you could write a book. I said, okay, all right. And so she became my literary agent. And every now and again she would say, have you had an idea for a book? And I'd say, no, I haven't yet, actually. And then finally, she was going to a book fair, and she said, I'm going to meet some people, and they could maybe do your book. Can you write a page of an idea for a book? So I said, okay. I was in the middle of rehearsing at the time, so it was like, okay, all right. So I wrote this page of, I can't even remember what I wrote, really. And I sent it to her. And then a day later, she rang up and said, I've got you a book deal. And it was quite a lot of money. So I said, okay, I couldn't believe that she managed to do that. So then I had to write a book. And that sounds a little disingenuous, like I didn't want to write a book. I think anybody, probably most people in this room, would think, one day I would like to write a book. Everybody has got a story to tell, you know. So then it was a long process of me finding out how to write the book that I eventually did. At first it was going to be completely different. It had a different title. It was called This Book is a Song. And the concept was it would start off introduction, then it would have the first verse, and then it would go to a chorus, and then it would go to a second verse, all this stuff. I worked on that for about 2 years, and the publishers were going, yeah, it's okay. And then finally, in a meeting, another woman called Anna Fletcher said, forget all the other stuff you've written about and just write about the loft. Because I had put 1 or 2 bits that were set in the loft. And she said, that's more interesting because this is real things. They're not just like ideas that you had. This is something that you've carried around with you for almost kind of half my life. I'd traveled around with all this stuff in bags such as this one that I brought with me. Eventually, it got put in the loft of this house, and then I left the country. It was a set of circumstances, and I left it in the loft of this house, and some friends were living in the house. And from time to time, I would think about all this stuff that was there in the dark, with dust falling on it, and like the clothes getting eaten by moths, and just like think, there must be something in there that I should investigate. So this book is the investigation, part 1. Sorry, that was a very long answer, but you can see on these side screens, this is like a kind of a periodic table, but most of the objects in the book are represented on the side screens. So maybe can I show you where it all came from?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I think if I go to here, there.
Yeah.
So that is the entrance to the loft. It's in obviously the top floor of a house in East London, and I kind of wanted to show you that because it's not big, and this will give you the idea of the size. So that will show you the size. So to find things in this loft is not easy, because you have to get in, and then the roof is like this high at the highest point, and then it goes to nothing, and so I would have to get in and kind of, stoop, walk like this. But there's a lot of stuff all over the floor, and I would just kind of gather a handful of things together and then awkwardly walk back, trying not to bang my head on the thing, and bring it into the room and then look at what was there. And I just decided to photograph everything, and this was kind of what it was like to start off with, just rubbish. But something told me that instead of just throwing it away, I should look at everything, take a photograph, try and work out why it was there, and then either throw it or, as I say in the book, cob it, or keep it. And that was really how it started to go.
There's this idea that in several parts of the book, it's not more maybe when you're talking about your aesthetic or the things that interest you. Talk about how you have been always interested or seduced by the idea of finding art, finding meaning where in the things that people throw away. That's more or less what you're doing here with the things you threw away in the past.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
And it's exactly this operation, what you're doing here. So it fits a lot with your aesthetic.
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, as you can see, as you can see, it's rubbish, really. I mean, if you pass that in the street, you would just say, that's rubbish. But I think that's one of the things about art. You can take something that is worthless and you can invest it with meaning that makes it priceless, you know, because, and this is what I found with the things that were in here that, well, can I show you? I'll show you a particular item. So imagine I was looking through this stuff, and then part of the first thing that I found that I thought, okay, this is a good idea, what I'm doing, was I found this, and I'll show you this here. Right, so let's move back a little bit, and right, here we are. Can you see that? Is it upside down? Here we go. Yes. Oh, it's like a, there. So this is a thing, an exercise book from a school. But the thing that made me pay more attention was, can you see there? It says pulp, 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 pulp. So when I saw that, I thought, okay. That must be something that I wrote it. So I opened it up, and you know, I was quite excited. And the first thing I saw was this. Pulp. Oh,
now.
Pulp fashion. So the first thing that I did to do with the band was this, which was a, if you can see, is a fashion guide as to what the band would wear. And so I can show you. So it goes from a duffel coat, not very practical for on stage, much too warm, crew neck jumper, a garish t-shirt, a plain shirt, a rancid tie, some mauve drainpipe trousers, some pointy boots, cheapo white baseball boots, an Oxfam jacket, some silly socks, shortish hair, and a sequin used for a silly purpose. So I think I'd always wanted to be in a band from, you know, being like, I don't know, 8 years old or whatever. And I think this was my like field of dreams idea, that if I could draw what the band would wear, then the band would materialize.
It's quite incredible how aimed you were those days. I mean, while reading the book, it was something that came to my mind all the time. I mean, the kid in this book and the young man in this book, we know how things ended up. So it's like, okay, yes, do your thing. But the kid and the young man, they didn't know what's going to happen. And you were really aimed, you were focusing, you took risks. I mean, it was your life all the time. So what's your, I don't know, what's your relationship with the way you were? I mean, are you surprised? Are you amazed? Are you still equally aimed like you used to be?
I have changed. I don't know. Like I say, it wasn't a particularly original idea to want to be in a band. You know,
yeah.
It was a thing that everybody, because of the Beatles and everything, everybody kind of wanted to be in a band. Especially with the Beatles being a big band, made people from lower class origins think that they could do the same thing. So I was just kind of going with the flow of what was happening at that time, I think, in a way. Yeah, I am fairly impressed that I did this. I'm also kind of quite astounded that I forgot that I'd done it. It wasn't until I found the book that
you didn't.
No, I mean, once I'd found it, then I remembered having written it, but I'd forgotten all about it. And it even gets more involved, because if we move a couple of pages, we get onto the logo, but we also get onto the Pulp master plan, so this is, can I read a little bit of the Pulp master plan? So this is, I was maybe 13 when I wrote this, and this is category A, music. Being first and foremost a musical unit, it is fitting that Pulp's first conquest should be of the music business. The group shall work its way into the public eye, by producing fairly conventional, yet slightly offbeat pop songs. After gaining a well-known and commercially successful status, the group can then begin to subvert and restructure both the music business and music itself. So that's quite a lofty ambition.
Yes.
You know, so, and when I read that, I think it's funny, but then I mean, I've done it in my best writing. Like, I don't write like that anymore. It's all joined up and everything. So I must have really believed that I could make it happen. So, yeah, strange.
Can we show these people your first guitar, please? I mean, in every memoir, I expected
Yeah,
a
it's
first...
not in there. It wouldn't.
Oh, no,
be.
yeah, it would be shame. But it had two parts, that guitar. I mean, it could be in there.
Yeah, it could, yes, I can show you the guitar. So,
see, I expected a first instrument story in your book. I mean, in every musician's memoir, you've got the first time an instrument is given to you. But I didn't expect the story you have there. I mean, you have a...
Yeah, well, this guitar, I still use this guitar. I mean, it's at one time, for a long time of Pulp's existence, that was the only guitar I had. And it's not, it's not a very valuable guitar.
Hop guitar.
Pulp, yeah, it's a German guitar. And it was given to me by a German person. So I guess I was around 12 or 13, and the thought of being in a band, I thought, well, if now's the time, I could do it. Because punk had happened, and that was a really kind of important thing, because it said that anybody could be in a band, and you didn't even have to be able to play very well, which was very useful for me, because I couldn't play anything at all, because up to this point, before this guitar, there was this horrible thing with the strings about this far away from the fretboard, and it was just impossible to play. So my grandparents invited my mother and my sister and me to go on a holiday to Ibiza with them. And it was the first time I'd ever been out of the UK. It was very exciting to go on an aeroplane and all that. And we went to a hotel, and my mum had a holiday romance with the guy who was teaching people how to scuba dive in the hotel. And he was a German guy called Horst Hohenstein. And I can show you a picture of him, actually. There we are. So that's Horst in the small swimming trunks. And then that's myself and my sister on the bonnet of his. He had like that's like a German armored car painted white that he used to drive around the island in to do the lessons. Anyway, so you might be able to guess he had been in a band. And so I felt that I could talk to him about the fact that I wanted to be in a band myself. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he kind of listened and didn't make fun. And he said, well, I'm going to come to England to see your mum at Christmas, and I'll bring you a guitar. And hey-ho, he actually did bring a guitar. So that changed everything for me, because it was an electric guitar, so I could make it make a noise. And the frets, the strings were only that far from the fretboard, so I could actually try and play some chords. And so then I kind of, all the kids in my class wanted to look at it anyway, because they think, oh, you've got an electric guitar. So it really facilitated the start of the band.
There's this teenage thing you talk about the guitar, because it's not exactly an electric guitar. It has like an acoustic kind of... So there was people that maybe would think that it was not punk enough, or something like that, no? I
probably thought that when I first looked at it, but I wasn't going to tell him that. I was happy that he'd given it to me.
No, it's very beautiful. It's very sweet when you talk about how you start strumming it and you realize how the Beatles songs were too complicated because too many chords. And I think it's very simple and smart how you talk about how punk saved you somehow, you were telling. And then when eventually in the book you end up putting the Velvet Underground in the middle of the Beatles and punk, because we're maybe not that simple. They had some more melodic songs. They had songs that were more punk. I don't know. I mean, Velvet Underground was something that you just used in your brain when your sensitivity was constructing to put between these two poles. Somehow.
Yeah, well, like you say, the Beatles songs, I don't know if anybody in this room has got, you can get that Beatles illustrated songbook with all the chords in. And every song's got about 20 chords. And it was just really, I tried to do them and I couldn't play them at all. So I think I could play I'm So Tired. I'm so tired. I could kind of play that. That was about the only one. So I got a bit discouraged by that, but we started playing concerts, and maybe because of the semi-acoustic guitar and also the fact that we were often quite out of tune, because we didn't have an electronic tuner, we just had, you know those ones you go, it makes a noise, and then you have to go ding, ding, ding,
yeah.
ding, 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 and it's just like very difficult to tune the guitar.
There was a time I remember trying to, not having anything to have the note, and you remember when with the telephones you had the line, and the line, I think it was an A, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
And trying that, it didn't work, but, you know, just...
Yeah, so, so we were pretty out of tune, and one review said, shades of the Velvet Underground, probably because of being out of tune, but I thought that sound of the name of the band was really, sounded interesting, so I tried to find a record, and the only one I could find was this one. This is like a compilation. That isn't an Andy Warhol picture. That's just somebody at the record company who's trying to do something that looks like an Andy Warhol album. But like you say, the thing that's good about the Velvet Underground is that, like, the first song on that compilation is "I'm Waiting for the Man," so that's like, and then it was something like "Pale Blue Eyes," which is super gentle. And then I think the last song on the first side is "All Tomorrow's Parties," which is kind of almost like a kind of modern classical kind of thing. I don't know. So, and the really good thing was that they only had about 5 chords in each of their songs. So they seemed to. We consciously tried to emulate them a bit. That's why we had a violinist in the band and stuff, because we were trying to be like the Velvet Underground. It
really surprised me that you talked a lot about the Beatles in the book. I kept thinking about why it's that a surprise to me, because I think that a lot of music that you have done, it's not just for the chords, because for the This Is Hardcore album has a lot of complicated chords, so it's not that simple, that album. But it was something else, and I thought that maybe it was the backing vocals. That was the question I told you before that I wanted to do. So why? I mean, when you think about the Beatles, one beautiful thing they did was that use of the backing vocals, especially, I don't know, in the second verse, you can always have a good backing vocal to boost a little bit the things. But you don't use backing vocals a lot.
Nobody could sing. But they all pretended that they couldn't sing. I mean, that's another thing about bands, you know. Because it was my idea to have the band, I guess that's why I ended up being the singer. And then because I was the singer, that's why I ended up having to write the words to the songs. I didn't want to write words to songs. And it was very difficult for me to write words to songs when it began. You know, it's at that, because you're at that age where you're very self-conscious, so... As I say in the book, the first song I wrote was kind of a joke song. It was called Shakespeare Rock, because we were studying Shakespeare at school. And it went, got a baby, only one thing wrong, quote Shakespeare all day long. I said, baby, why ignoring me? She said, to be or not to be. So but that was a way of, because like you, the rest of the band laughed at it, and then I didn't feel too self-conscious then, and we learned that song at our first rehearsal, and so once we'd done one song, I knew that then the band would survive for a while. But yeah, the backing vocals thing, it was hard enough to get people to be in the band. The first rehearsal we had, I bought a lager. That was the way to say, come to the rehearsal. There is lager. Free. I'm not going to charge you for it. You can have a can of lager. So we got a good turnout. But the lager got phased out because it didn't help the musical performance. Yeah, we had a bass player at the start who was into the band, but he kind of thought it was like a sport. So he would play his bass line. Like I'd count the song and I'd go, okay, Shakespeare rock, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'd go, finished. Like, because he thought it was a race to see who could get to the end of the song first. And they'd go off and have a galaga, probably. So all things like that, it was, as I say in the book, a lot of what the band was at first was just a noise. Because the first attempts at recording on a cassette, I somehow thought if we just recorded it, it would make itself into a song. I know that's a ridiculous idea. I thought that if you just made some noise, the cassette would kind of make it into something that was like a song, but it didn't. So yeah, it was strange.
Can we jump to the first time that you actually went to a studio?
All right. Yeah,
there's this thing you say I think is very beautiful about how something changes in your brain when you listen to for the first time something that you have written. Recorded in a professional way. No, there is something magic there, and you lose some kind of naive thing in your brain. No?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think when you first hear music coming out of a radio, it comes out. It's just like it's like a thing. A song seems like an object, and it has an effect on you. And then when you go in the studio and you record it, and you record the instruments separately, then you start to listen to music in a different way. Like you go, oh yeah, that's the guitar and that's the drums and that's the, it splits it into bits, and it's a bit like a loss of innocence time, because you can never really hear music as that whole thing that you like before. But it has to happen. I'll tell you about our first recording session. It was quite good. It involves this. So I worked in a fish market in Sheffield. I won't go into that because it was unpleasant. And there was a guy on a butcher's quite nearby, and he was also in a band. So I used to go and talk to him sometimes in my lunch break. And one time I went to talk to him, and he said, oh, we did some recording last week. All right. And I said, oh, where did you do that? He said, at the Colonel's. So I said, oh, okay. So I asked him about it, and it was this guy who had a studio in his house. He'd built a studio in his own house. And he said it were 8G, not very expensive. So I said, okay, good. So I asked him for the number of the Colonel, and I rang him, and I found out it wasn't that expensive. So all the band saved up, and we went for a day in the studio. So we kind of, I'd never been in a studio before, so I wondered what it would look like. I didn't expect it to look just like a normal house. So we just got to this house. I thought, it can't really be here, but we knocked on the door, and this guy came to the door. He said, oh, and I said, is this a studio? He said, yes. So he said, take your shoes off. So I thought, all right, okay, you have to take your shoes off to go in a studio. Okay, fair enough. And we went in, it was like, he showed us where everything was. So it was a normal house. The recording part was in the kitchen. And then he said, and he'd do drums upstairs. So we all walked upstairs, and we walked into their bedroom. And in the bedroom was this drum kit. So it was a really strange sight because it was a very traditional bedroom with this kind of pink cover on the bed and a kind of quite a thick carpet, pink, I believe. And then this drum kit in the corner by the curtains. And he said, you play on that because it's an electronic kit and it doesn't make a lot of noise. Otherwise, neighbours will be after you. So he didn't want to upset his neighbours. So our drummer had to kind of sit there and learn how to play this kit, which to us, it just sounded like, because this, you know, the sound is made electronically. So we left him upstairs and we went down to set our equipment up downstairs, and we could see there was like a little black and white TV next to the toaster, and we could see the drummer like playing, because I suppose he didn't want, because it was the bedroom, he didn't want the drummer to interfere with the bed or whatever was in there. So yeah, we recorded, I think, 4 songs. And
it's funny when you talk about the reverb there. Because
yes, I was just going to say that. It was really, it's very strange when you've first been in a studio because it's really clear. And my voice was like really clear. And I say, oh, can't you make it a bit less clear? So he said, you could put a bit of reverb on. So it sounds like it's in a cave, you know. So of course I just put it all on, like full. So it was like, I thought it sounded like, you know, great. It was like the voice of God or something like that. And they say, no, that's too much. Anyway, we eventually got it mixed. We got it put on a cassette, and I took the cassette home and listened to it. And it was like it was a revelation. You know, I couldn't believe that we had made this thing that it kind of did sound like a song.
That's the cassette you gave to John Peel?
No, because I can show you, see this was a cassette that I found that is from that time, but it's not the cassette because it took me about 5 days to find the cassette because it was in the very, very furthest corner of the loft, but I can now show you. And I will show it you on the visualizer. Let me get here. Here it comes. There it is. I'll even get it the right way up. So it's there, and I'll open the cassette box. Oh. And here it is. It's a sound cassette. I guess because it makes a sound. And as I've written on it, very early Pulp, because it is yeah, that's history right there.
There's this part where you talk about Leonard Cohen and the interview that you did to him. And he says that he stops you when you're asking him for creativity. He's like scared about talking about some things that you may not control, and it's better not to keep some parts of creativity like secret and not to talk about them a lot. Have you been afraid? I mean, in this book, you don't talk about how you wrote that song or you don't talk exactly like that, but you're giving hints of some of your ways that things that you like, some of the traces that can be found in your songs. But for example, I think that the Barry White thing, I don't know, there's something in my brain that has changed because I've been listening to your music and to Barry White music this week. And there's something that you do a lot, like when you speak in your songs, that I mean, I'm not sure if I can totally see the Barry White reference there. So I don't know if I will be able to disconnect these 2 dots that you have connected right now. So maybe I'm going to know that Barry White is behind you speaking in the songs.
It's a frightening thought, isn't it?
It used to be very cool, yeah, and it's cool now, but it used to be something that I thought that it was yours, you know, and you have rebuilt one of your secrets.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that was a kind of accidental thing. I can show. I've got that cassette as well. I'll show you that one. Here it is. There's Barry.
Well,
let me put it the right way up. So that's Barry White's greatest hits. And what happened there was, this was later in the band, and Russell Sr. was a guitarist and violinist, and he, because we weren't making any money whatsoever, he decided to try and be an antiques dealer.
yeah.
And he knew that I had a lot of rubbish. I used to go to jumble sales a lot and buy things. And so he said, do you want to try and do this antiques dealing with me? I'll take you to an auction. So I said, okay, let's see what it's like. So we got in his van. Well, it wasn't his van, it was his mother's van. And it was a really funny van. It was like, from a distance, it looked like a real van. But when you got closer, it got really small. It was like, everything was like 2/3 of the size that something should be. So we kind of got in this van really kind of scrunched up, and it would only go like 50 miles an hour because it had a very small engine as well. And there was a cassette player in the van, and it was broken, and it just had a cassette stuck in it, and the cassette was Barry White's greatest hits. So we just had to listen all the way to this auction. We listened to Barry White, and at first we were thinking, Barry White. But then after a while, I thought, Barry's good. And by the end of the journey, which took a long time because it was so slow, this van, we were thinking, Barry White's amazing, and we decided that we had to try and write songs like that. So the first song that we attempted to do to be like Barry White is a song called My Legendary Girlfriend. I don't know if you know that one. That's from like the early 90s, and that's really a blatant mixture of 2 tracks from side one of the greatest hits, which is, it's got Honey Please Can't You See, Honey Please Can't You See, da, 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 da. So it's got that, but I'm trying to sing or talk in the kind of way he does Love Serenade. I don't want to see no brassiere. I don't want to see no panties like that. So that was a big, yeah. It was a kind of accidental inspiration. I still really like Barry White. I discovered a new track by him just the other day. What a Groove. Do you know that one? Check it out. It's really good. It starts out with this kind of train kind of sound, and then it gets into a really good groove.
In the pages where you talk about the Sheffield years after high school, I think these are beautiful pages where you maybe are not talking only about yourself. You're talking about that city during the recession, those characters there. I think it's very beautiful. And there's that beam of light that is the limit. No? The disco you
that went. Was yeah. There was a nightclub in Sheffield called The Limit, down in a basement.
It's very beautiful how you explain how you discovered dancing and how you discovered disco music. I think that while reading this, I don't know. I got the sense that I was understanding more your music too. I mean, we've talked about Barry White, but in that disco, I think that there was something that it's important for your music too. I mean, it's very important, no?
Yeah, because music that I'd been brought up with was on the radio. So it would be, at first it was when my mum was getting us ready for school. You had to stand very still, and she would brush your hair, and the radio would be on. And so I would hear about 10 minutes of music before going to school. But that's very head-based, you know, that's very, music that comes out of a radio, especially in those days, was very tinny.
Yeah.
So going to a disco for the first time was like a whole new world opened up, and that was the world of bass. Like, And then also, as you say, dancing, because that's what people do in nightclubs, isn't it? You know, so different aspects of a song become really important in a disco. You know, like the bass and the drums are really important, because if the rhythm section doesn't work, then you won't want to dance to it. So the words kind of recede a little bit into the background. So it made me think about music in a different way, and I wanted to make music that people would be able to dance to in some way.
Another revelation, an important revelation, maybe it's the climax of the book, thing that you're always like mixing your biography with some thoughts you have about creativity or art. And there is this climax where everything just comes together. There's when you fall out of the window. You tell in the book that you have told a million times this story, but I think I'm going to ask you if you can tell it. Just
really?
Another one, please. Yes.
Do you want to hear about it? Would you? You're going to put me through this trauma again? Okay. Well, okay. So, well, to start with this story, let's go back to this beginning slide, because this will become important. So, one evening at the Limit.
Oh, okay. It started at the Limit.
It started at the
Excellent.
Limit, yes. So there was a girl that I liked, and she asked me to go back to her place, which was just up the road. I was quite excited about that. So we went up to her flat, and we were sat, a little bit like me and you now, we were sat in her living room. And I was thinking, shall I try and kiss her? I couldn't make the first move. It seemed really an awkward situation. So I thought, and we weren't really talking. So it was, so I thought, I've got to do something here. And I decided to do something really ridiculous. So I got up and I said, I'll show you a trick that I saw the other day. So I got up and I went over to her windows, and I said, I'm going to go out onto your window ledge, and I'm going to go outside the building and come in through that other window down there. He said, please don't do that. I said, I'm going to... So the reason that came into my mind was I'd been at a party about 2 weeks before, and I'd seen someone do this. But this was in an old house, so they'd just gone up and they'd got one window, opened it up, got the other window, opened it up, and then they kind of went out, stood on the window ledge. It was quite brave because it was like about 4 stories down, and then they went like, and then came back in and everybody went, yeah. So I thought, that's a good trick. Makes everybody think that you're really a good guy. Anyway, so I'm there standing at her windows now, but she lived in a modern building. So instead of having the windows that open like this, it was windows, you had a handle, and then you pushed it out, and then the other bit came in. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it had a hinge in the middle, so it went like this. So there was no way I could stand and go out because the window was like stuck out here like that. So I kind of looked at the 2 windows, and at that point I could have backed out, but I just thought, I'm going to go for it. So I said, I'm going to go out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang from your window ledge, and then I'm going to reach over to the other window ledge and go over, and then I'm going to pull myself up and come back in. He said, please don't do that. I said, no, I'm going to do it. So I went out, And I did get as far as hanging from the first window ledge, so I'm hanging like this. And I thought, wow, this is quite difficult. I don't think I'm going to be able to reach over to that thing, so I'd better go back in now. So I can't do it. Because my arms were at their full, they were at their full extent. So I said, is there anybody else in the flat who could come and help drag me in? She said, no. I said, okay. I think I'm going to let go now then. She said, please don't do that. So I'm going to have to, because I could feel that my fingers were kind of starting to slip a little bit. So I said, I'm going to count to 3 and let go. She said, really, really, please do not do that. But anyway, I just thought, I've got to do it. How high am I anyway? And at that point, this bus went past, and I could see the roof of the bus. So I thought, okay, I am quite high. But I just, I went, okay, 1, 2, 3, and it was like, and then I was on the floor after what seemed like a very, very long fall. And I looked back up at the window. I said, can you call an ambulance, please? And what I ended up doing was I broke my wrist. I'd fractured my pelvis, which was very dangerous, and I'd really messed my ankle up. So an ambulance did come and took me to hospital, and I was in hospital for, I think, I was in the hospital for maybe 3 weeks, and then I had to go to like a rehabilitation place for another month or so. So it was quite a serious thing. But don't feel sorry for me, because that, as I say in the book, I think that really, in some way, it really opened my eyes to something. And it sounds like a joke, but it did bring me down to earth. Up to that point, I'd been writing songs, but I was always a bit all over the place with what they were about, and I hadn't really found a voice to write songs in. And what this fall to earth seemed to do was make me realize that I had to write about what was in my immediate vicinity, just things that were right in front of me, my surroundings. And that's not as easy as it sounds, because you often overlook things that are right by you because you think because it's around you all the time, you become a little bit blind to it. So I started, what I first did was in the hospital, I started making notes. I could show you these notes. So I just, so this piece of writing says, people I have met whilst in hospital. So first, Doug, number 1, about 50, trapped nerve, always giving nurses Quality Street. That's a type of chocolate. Silly shoes with high heel, hit by taxi, teeth removed to fix skull. It sounds like the kind of notes that you would make if you were a private detective, when you were looking at people coming out of a building. And in a way, that's what they are, because it was me. I just thought, if I can try and capture what's around me in enough detail, then it will, at some point, the gates of perception, the doors of perception will open, and I will be able to see how life works. And I didn't know, and so I thought, I didn't know what the actual detail was going to be that was going to do that, but I thought, if I can capture it in as much detail as I can, that could happen.
Yeah, the way I think it works in the book is like as a climax. You've talked about, there's that envelope where you wrote, life is elsewhere. So that's the opposite, no? I mean, that revelation is that life is just here,
life is
now.
Here.
So, and the other thing that I think that the episode of the TV. It's more about fantasy, about what's on the other side of the screen. So you finish the book finding a voice that it's just about talking about what's around you, about the things that you can touch.
Yeah, I mean, TV, I was obsessed with TV as a child, and I actually wanted to live inside the television. That's when, TVs were like big boxes, so it seemed kind of possible that you might be able to do that. It would be a little bit cramped. But, and that was another thing, actually, about this. When I went back and thought about the hanging from the window ledge, in a film, it would have music playing like like this is dramatic, but there was no music playing. It was just like you might kill yourself, and so what? And then also, in a film, it would be like, and he found the last bits of strength, and he pulled himself back into the room. But I didn't have that strength. I was just like, have you got somebody who can come and help? So I could have died in that aspect, and it would have been really pathetic and not dramatic at all. So I think that's when I started trying to then not take so much notice of films and TV. I mean, as I say in the book, so now when I go to a hotel, I have a kind of a scarf thing that I hang over the TV screen so that I'm not tempted to watch it. And I used to, actually, when my son was really young, I used to stick pictures that he'd drawn on the TV screen for the same reason.
So that TV with the coin
was the devil.
Was a horrible. It was the devil. Yeah, it was a horrible thing. No, to fuck with your mind a lot.
It makes you think that you know the world, but you don't. You've only seen pictures of the world. You've not seen the world itself. But I mean, the reason why I wanted to show you that is that I think what happened, in a way, was all these objects. I started to think that the loft was a bit like my mind. It was, if you watch a lot of TV, you end up with a lot of rubbish inside your mind. And then I also externalized that by collecting a lot of rubbish. But when I hit the ground, I think it all got jumbled up in some way. And it produced something. It produced a sensibility. I did a little diagram of it in the book. I can show you it. So here it is. Can you see that? So it says Scott, that's Scott Walker, plus Barry White, plus Eurodisco, plus Realismo Sucio, social realism, equals the future. And that's what I felt. And as I was getting better in the hospital, I thought that all these things had got mixed up in some way, and that I could see a path, to follow. So, yeah, it was a painful thing that happened, but it set me on a path that I think I've tried to follow since then. It's led me right here tonight.
I've been told I had an hour. The hour has passed, and I think maybe we should open to the audience something.
Yes. Has anybody got any questions? Health and safety questions. I think there are some microphones, aren't there? So.
Hi haurà un micròfon per algun lloc preparat? He anat massa ràpid igual, no? Ha anat bé?
Or you can just shout. Did I get the girl? No, that's a good question. No. So.
I want to ask this.
Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. What's your name?
Did you get Dina?
Hello, Dina.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Did you get the girl? The Jarvis one?
No. Okay. No.
But she
so
made a
that was quite. She sent me. Let me see. She sent me. I'll have to show you this actually now.
Yeah, she was very funny.
She sent me a note. It's here. Can you see that? So that turned up at the hospital. Oh, hang in there. So she had a dark sense of humour. It turned out quite badly because there was something she'd had something where she'd locked one of her boyfriends in a room for a long time, and the police had come round. So there was a suspicion that she'd thrown me out of the window. So they came and questioned her, so she was really not very happy about that, so we didn't get it on. But thank you for asking. Okay, who's got another question?
La mateix?
Where do you get your glasses from?
All right, okay. From Cutler and Gross. I don't know, have they got shops here?
I have no idea.
But you could probably get them. I can't remember what these ones are called. It's like a number. It's quite boring, you know, like 452. But I used to know someone who worked at Cutler and Gross, and she allowed me to go and look through all their glasses, and I picked these ones out. There you are. Thank you.
Fashion advice.
Your glasses look quite good, though. Yeah. Who else? Someone with their arm up there. It's coming.
Hello.
Hello.
Very pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
My name is Esther.
Hi.
And I would like to know what your favorite Beatles song, because I'm a very Beatlemaniac girl, and also I love your music. So it could be very nice to know what's your favorite Beatles song.
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick with the Beatles because I think there's only about 2 songs that aren't that good. I don't really like that old brown shoe one.
What about, do you want Maxwell Silverhammer? They hated it.
Yeah, I liked it as a kid.
Old Brown Shoe, yes. I don't like it.
I think A Day in the Life is a really good song.
Yeah.
And then a Paul McCartney song, I really like that one, Martha, Martha, my dear, though. But most of them are good. And as I say, I think they were, obviously, it's like you can get blind to the Beatles because they existed, but I think because of the time they happened, they gave a lot of hope to people in my kind of position because they come from Liverpool, they were just like normal people, and yet they were considered the best band in the world. So that made so many other people think, oh, I could make music as well, and opened it up, you know, a really amazing phenomenon, you know. Nowadays, things that are super popular, you always think they are rubbish. and often they are, but the Beatles weren't. Are
you aware that Mick Jagger and Ron Wood were here today attending a football match?
Really?
Yeah.
I better be careful then, yeah. Okay. Hello.
I'd like to know whether you enjoyed the writing of this book, and would you consider putting parts of it to music?
All right. I didn't enjoy writing it. I found it very difficult. It took a long time for me to find the way to write it. And it was a very, very slow process. I'm not really used to working on my own. I mean, I obviously will write the words for a song, but that'll just be like, you know, a sheet of paper like that, one side, for the whole song. So the sheer volume of words that I was supposed to write, especially because I was writing it on a computer, so it tells you, you look, I must have written a lot now, and it goes 400 words. You think, oh, surely it must be more than that. So all that kind of aspect of it. And I tried lots of ways to, I thought I'll do it a different way. So I tried just talking to someone. I got someone who was a good typist, and she just typed as I spoke. That was a nightmare, because I just realized that my vocabulary was really limited, and I just kept repeating the same things all the time. It was like, Jesus Christ, I could read that. I tried lots of different ways of doing it, and in the end, I kind of out of desperation just realized I had to just sit there and make myself write for 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, whatever. After that, once it was getting towards the end, then I started to enjoy it, because then once I'd got this big, massive like iceberg of text, then I found the process of making it shorter and making it make sense and changing the order and all that, it seemed to get better all the time then. And then I started to enjoy it. And then events like this, I kind of quite like doing that, because it brings it to life again a bit. So, yeah, as to putting it to music, no. Well, I've already done that. I mean, I always thought that songs were going to be the only trace of me that was going to be left in the world. And that's why, as Guillem said, at the end of the book, I do say that if you look closely, you will probably see the roots for 40 songs, but I don't say which songs they are. Because that would be, Guillem mentioned that I once talked to Leonard Cohen, and he said, I tried to ask him about how he wrote songs, and he was kind of superstitious about it, and said, he's got a very deep voice. He said, we cannot tamper with these, what is it, sacred mechanics. And I thought that was a good way of putting it. I think a lot of people, I don't really know how I write a song. It's always a bit of a random process. And I do think one of the enemies of creativity is self-consciousness, of thinking about what you're doing rather than doing it. So I did agree with him there. So that's why I didn't want to say, oh, well, I wrote this song, da 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 da. I didn't want to go too much into detail. I just wanted to go into the general idea. Because one thing we haven't mentioned, I suppose, is my central belief about creativity is that everyone does it, and everyone can do it. It's like a really fundamental thing about humans, that's what sets us apart from other creatures, that we can make things and you can show it to another person or play it to another person, and they will understand something, it will make them feel something. And that's a really kind of magical thing. And we all do it. We all know, we all look at the same world, but we're all seeing it in a slightly different way. And I find that very fascinating. The variety of human experience is what excites me. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Who else?
Qui decideix? Tu mateix. És que no tens micròfon, no? Aquesta noia.
Don't fight for it. Be kind to them.
Hi, Jarvis.
Hello.
I'm halfway through the book right now,
Okay.
and I'm just curious. We saw the notebook, so that must have been quite a surprise. Is there any other object that you were particularly shocked to find in there, and why?
Yeah, I can show you one, actually. Well, the scariest one is here.
Ooh.
Which it doesn't look very scary, does it? But wait till I open it. It will make your blood run cold when I show you. Do you know who that is? Margaret Thatcher. So, kind of like the most evil woman who ever has been. And you know, I bought this thing. Now, my only excuse, the excuse that I come up with in the book is it was cheap, for a start. And I liked the fact that it was like a kind of pretending that, because she apparently had a blue handbag like this, so that's why it's in this pretend handbag, and it's got like you can dress her up in different clothes and stuff like that. So. But I use this as the book is called Good Pop, Bad Pop, and for me this is like an extremely bad pop object. And I say in the book I compare it, which is kind of sacrilegious to do so, but I compare it to this. I think that is one of the reasons I got it. This is when the Sgt. Pepper album came out by the Beatles, it had this sheet of things that you could cut out, like the stripes to put on your sleeve and badges and a moustache. And it reminded me, this thing reminded me of that. And I think that that's one of the things that bad pop does. It uses, it takes things that came from good pop and it uses them for evil purposes.
You use it like a synonym of populism, bad pop?
Yes,
no?
Yeah, that's the difference between pop and populism, yeah, sure.
No sé si...
What time is it now? Maybe...
I think we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, come on. Quick question. Who's got the microphone? Come on. Oh, just shout. Hello. Hello.
Hello. I wanted to know, as years go by, is it being a turtle, is being slow still a good thing?
No. Speaking about, in the book I talk about the fact that I am a tortoise. I don't mean I am a tortoise, obviously, but I am slow. And it does cause me some... I regret it in some ways because I wish that I had made more records. I wish it hadn't taken me so long to write this book. I wish it hadn't taken me so long to clear all this rubbish out of the loft, you know. But I think you have to kind of accept that your own nature, you know. And it takes, for whatever reason, it takes a long time for information to go through my mind. It can even be dangerous. I mention an example in the book where I was in a restaurant with my girlfriend. She was sitting opposite me, and there was a candle, very romantic dinner. But then behind her, I saw a famous actor about to sit down. I said, "Ronnie Corbett's behind you." Ronnie Corbett's quite famous in England. Anyway, and she was excited, so she turned round, and then there was this horrible smell because her hair had gone in the candle and it set on fire. But I was just like looking at it going, wow. And then suddenly there was this big thing of water came in, and the person on the next table had thrown a glass of water over her to put the hair out. So in that case, you know, she could have been bald. Because for some reason, I saw it happen, but it just didn't register that it was something that I should do something about. So that's dangerous. I probably should be banned from driving for that reason. I don't know. Go on then. Yeah, come on. Another question. That's just this. Yeah. Hello.
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 My name is Victoria.
Hello,
nice
Victoria.
to meet you.
Hi.
Hope you enjoy here in Barcelona.
Yeah.
My question is, do you still collect some things, and maybe there will be another book with some new stuff?
Yeah. Well. Yes, I think I will. The thing with the book was, like I say, it took me a long time to get going. And the publisher kept saying that you've got to have it finished by da-da-da date. And then I still hadn't finished it. I think I missed 2 deadlines or 3 deadlines. So I just had to think, where will I pause? It was kind of a good thing in a way, because at first I thought the book would be very neat. It would be like, okay, we go into this loft, we'll see what it is, we look at the objects, they tell a story, and at the end, the loft is clear. You know, it's like I'm now like an enlightened soul. But I ended up writing a lot more. It was a gift, actually, because when I try and remember my life, it's patchy, but the objects, as I say, with this exercise book, I'd forgotten a lot of things, but as soon as I saw the object, like the Barry White cassette or whatever, the memory would be very bright in my mind. So it was kind of, I liked that aspect of it. So there probably will be a part 2, and part 2 will probably be about, when I came to London and actually the band became successul. So you might have even heard some of the stories before. But yeah.
No, I thought about that. I mean, when a musician's memory, you expect the adventures of that concert or that label or I don't know, these kind of things. That it's very beautiful because you talk about another side of your life. No, in this book, I mean, it's not about the stage. It's not about the stardom.
No, but it's kind of how I got on the road to it, I suppose.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you. One more. Have I got to choose? Okay, go on. Hello. Hi.
Hello. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm Dina's friend.
Okay.
You know her.
Okay.
After falling off a window, how can you wear heels?
Well, that's a good question, actually. These shoes are something that I got from second hand, and I'll show them to you, actually. Not to you personally, but to the audience. So let's go back to here. So, because I'm kind of fascinated by them in a way. So these were all in a shop in Paris. Can you see? Jocelyn. And the heel, is substantial. Yeah, I know. Whoa. so what? At first, I saw these shoes. It was when Pulp reformed the last time, like at the beginning of the 2010s, and I thought, yes, this is the way to walk on stage. But I looked at them and I thought, I mean, first I thought, are they for women with big feet? But they're not. They're all. I've got about 15 pairs of these shoes, and they've all got heels like this, and they're definitely men's shoes. But I can't remember ever seeing men walk around with shoes like this. So, and they're very well made as well. They're made in Italy, and well made.
Good fabric.
Yeah.
Good fabric. Yeah.
Leather. So they kind of fascinated me. As for your kind question about whether I should be wearing them, probably not, because when I left the hospital, actually, on the day I left, when I was discharged to go back home, a doctor called me into his office and he said, well, that foot is always going to give you pain, and probably in about 10 years' time, we'll have to fuse it. They'll have to, because it's hurting so much, they'll have to kind of set it in one position, and that'll be it. I said, well, thank you very much. Like sending me back into society, saying that I'm going to be messed up for the rest of my life. Anyway, I've proved him wrong. Here I am, standing on one foot. Thank you. So, yeah.
Okay. I think that was a good ending, no?
Okay. Thank you
There's
very
no
much.
time for more. Gràcies a tothom. El Jarvis estarà signant això aquí fora, a la caseta aquesta que tenen al pati. A pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.